We get this question actually quite a bit, and I know you didn't expect that slide as my first slide, but it gets people thinking. You know, you wouldn't give your hired man the whole winter off, right? That wouldn't be a good use of that resource. And likewise, you know, why would you let your land lay idle or bare all winter long? I think there's better options. We can do more with that idle land. This is a pretty typical scene that we see in Michigan. We think around 50% of the acres have bare dirt on them that could be double cropped with a winter annual forage. And you know, there's lots of good reasons why we can improve upon that situation. One is just simply more productivity, to get more tonnage and an actual forage crop off what otherwise would be just idle soil. Another one is manure management. As there's more and more regulation around NP and K, we need to have a balanced approach. And so obviously if we can grow a forage crop and remove that NP and K, we're going to be able to apply more manure and utilize another application on a green and growing crop. And the final one, you know, typically in Michigan, we have pretty wet springs, and we have the ability using the annual winter forage crop to actually pull the trigger on harvesting that in the spring. And if it's a really wet winter, we're actually going to be able to dry that soil out more quickly if we have something green and growing on it versus just bare soil. So instead of that bare soil picture that you just saw, here's an example of what you could have. This picture was taken April 28th, 2021 in Hopkins, Michigan. This farm is Mike Timmer's farm. And this forage crop is ready to harvest. It's right at flag leaf stage, and we had a little bit warmer spring than usual. Typically, we would expect it to look like this in early May, and obviously this picture was taken in late April. Often I get questions around, what are some of the numbers? What could I expect for tonnage? And the other question I get is, well, is it going to screw up my corn planting? And so if you've never used a winter annual forage crop, those are really good questions, things I think that are on most farmers' minds. And so kind of two parts to that. One, we frequently see 2 to 4 dry matter tons per acre for yield, but the environment matters a lot, and the timing of harvest matters a lot. And then in regards to the question around, is it going to screw up my corn planting window? It doesn't have to. You could pull the trigger on harvesting that forage crop anytime you want in the spring, and you're going to have a super high quality crop. If you harvest it on the early side, the tonnage may be smaller, but the quality will still be there. So what we find is that when people first start to get into annual forage crops, at first they pull the trigger when they normally would want to plant corn. So just when you want to go plant corn 2 or 3 days before that, get out there, swath it, and let it wilt down, use a pickup header on the chopper, and put it in the silage bunk. Then get your manure on for your corn, and then come in and plant your corn. But over time, what we've discovered is that if we look at it as a holistic systems approach, and you want to maximize the whole productivity on the acre, growers tend to slightly reduce the maturity on their corn silage enough to let that winter annual forage crop run another 5 or 6 days, and they really see a nice bump in tonnage. And on the screen, you'll see some data out of New York State, which has, in general, a shorter growing season than Michigan, but it's somewhat directionally correct. So you can kind of see what you've given up if you delay your corn planting a little bit and plant a shorter maturity, and then let your triticale or hybrid rye run a little bit longer.